So this is Ross when he finds out he has a full pardon. Ross is free. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name's Luke Rudowski, here of thebestpoliticalshow.com, and we are going to be going live for the next 2 hours discussing all the latest and craziest news happening right now. As of course, there never is a shortage of things to talk about, especially under the new Donald Trump administration that kept his promise and freed Ross Ulbricht. As of course, there's a lot of other people that still deserve freeing, but so far, his policy decisions are pretty incredible, especially when it comes to dealing with DEI and horrible policies that are now finally being revoked. Not everything is perfect, especially with these larger AI policies, but it does look like there are now a lot of efforts being done to specifically end the war in Ukraine. So fascinating stuff, fascinating developments. As of course, we wanted to remind everyone that this show is only live for members of LukeUnfiltered.com. We had a little bit of a disagreement, a scuffle with one other streaming company. We're trying to work it out civilly as best as we can. In the meantime, we really want to thank all the people that are helping us out here dramatically on LukeUnfiltered.com, 20 cents a day. And you guys get to be a part of these live shows. You get to comment. You guys get to call in. If you want to call in, let me know now in the members chat that is on Telegram that you guys want to call in. First-time callers also get free supplements from wearechange.shop. And of course, we are going to be doing our best to read any and all super chats on mysuperchat.com, which should pop up on screen. But of course, if you're a member, you're in the chat. I could read your chat now directly without a lot of people spamming it. And of course, you guys get priority since you guys help us keep this operation up and running. So sincerely, thank you guys for becoming a member on LukeUnfiltered.com, as today's conversation is going to be great, as we have Aaron Day here joining us for this conversation. Aaron, for the people who might not know you, who are you and how would you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Aaron Day. I guess my background is I'm a serial entrepreneur turned liberty activist. I started my first company in the mid-'90s and then sold that and then started a healthcare company, which was destroyed by Obamacare, Dodd-Frank, and Attorney General Eric Holder. So that turned me into a liberty activist from New Hampshire. And for the last couple of years, I've been focusing on educating people about the threat of CBDCs. And not only the restriction of liberty, but the fact that the government under Biden started cracking down on the entire crypto industry. And I started trying to warn people. And as I was warning people, more and more people like Ian Freeman and Roger Ver found themselves in prison. And so now I'm kind of actively trying to help continue to promote the CBDC cause and alternatives while also helping to raise awareness about these heroes that are in prison.
Yeah, I think there's still another Trump. I think there's another Biden executive order about CBDs that Trump didn't rescind yet, which hopefully he does. We'll get into that. I really want to get into what's happening with all these other people in prison that hopefully we could get out there to the larger kind of people so they could call for their pardons, since, you know, the Biden administration really did have a very heavy hand when it came to criminalizing a lot of people in the liberty movement, in the freedom movement. And I think it would definitely be advantageous for Donald Trump to release more of these larger political prisoners. And that's why I'm so happy you're here. Thank you so much, Aaron. We're going to get right into it. As of course, Liza Traynor, also in the house here. She's awesome. She's great. She was at the town hall meeting last night with me. She brought up some good points. She didn't want to speak. I put up her, I put her on the list of speakers without her consent, and she gave a great speech. That was great, Liza.
Luke kind of pats me on the back and he goes, head over there and start talking.
Yeah, it was great. It was a meeting on water fluoridation here in this community. So we're going to be releasing that vlog in the next few days on Luking Out, my new YouTube channel, which is pretty interesting. Liza, where can people find out more information about you?
You can find me on YouTube. I make things you can't buy in a store. So it's just my Liza Traynor channel.
Yep. And then you also are very active on Twitter. It's good to see some of your snarky remarks here and there, and that I have to live with as well. As Lauren Hayden is in the house here as well.
How are you?
She doesn't want to be called another specific name, but speak
Thank
up
you.
into the microphone. She's still sleepy-headed.
I am sleepy-headed, but I am so happy to be here. Members, hello. And my name's Lauren. I'm a criminal defense attorney, and I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. It'll be great to get your legal perspective on all the pardons and all the larger kind of legal moves here. As of course, Steph is also here. Steph.
Hey everyone, this is Steph. We are change pushing the button.
Why is everyone so sleepy? Wake up! Have your morning cup of government and realize, holy cow, things are changing dramatically, especially under the Donald Trump administration that, according to sources from Axios, had a two-worded message to staff when he made a last-minute decision on the J6 pardons. Can you guys guess what those 2 words were that Donald Trump issued before saying, you know what, we're going to just pardon everyone? Can you guess? 2 words. What did Donald Trump say? Anyone?
F it.
Yes, exactly. He said F it. And this was a decision that he was kind of mulling over, but this kind of shows you into the kind of larger mindset that he's going through right now, which is one that just says F it. And I don't know about you guys, I love to see this. I love to see this full pardon of Ross Ulbricht. I love to see this full pardon of all the J6ers, as there's people on the left freaking out about this. But how long do you want people imprisoned for, of course, the actions of J6? I think 3 years has been enough for a lot of the violators, for a lot of the trespassers, even some of the assaulters. Let's just be honest here. A lot of these people have dealt with an overwhelming heavy hand from the Biden DOJ that went after them for political reasons and not for any other reason, not for criminal reasons, but for reasons because they represented a larger political ideology that the left wanted to put in check and say, you know what? We're going to control you guys. We're going to snuff you guys out. We're going to make you an example to everyone else who dares to represent and speak your larger political ideology. And they did this in a very kind of underhanded way. We saw what happened to Roger Stone. We saw what happened to James O'Keefe. We saw what happened to a lot of other independent media figures that had their doors broken down by the FBI, as clearly the Biden administration and the DOJ were not playing fairly, and they were absolutely criminal in my book. That's my assertion. What do you guys think?
Absolutely. You know, it's time to have the shoe on the other foot, you know, and now the media is going to spool it all up and say, oh, they're doing this, you know, unjustly, when it's really a play out of, what is it, Goebbels' handbook, you know, blame the others of what you are doing.
Well, did you guys see that there was, I don't know if it was 6 or 8, but there was just like a small kind of handful of accounts that he said he'd need to look, and they wouldn't get like a full pardon. Perhaps they will, but they're looking into it.
Those are probably ones that were violent. You know, where they physically assaulted somebody and there's camera footage of it or something.
From what we're hearing, this was a full pardon of everyone. I think there's still one outstanding case connected to Stuart Rhodes that is still dealing with other charges unrelated to J6 that a lot of people are bringing attention to. I saw Stuart Rhodes actually talk about this as he was freed, and he's doing a bunch of interviews as well. But I think everyone was pardoned, right?
I saw a video of Trump talking specifically about this, saying that he had like 6 to review and that he may give them a full pardon, but if otherwise, it's like thousands of people that are getting full pardons. So yeah, you could say it's a full pardon. There's just like a small, either 6 or 8.
So have they let them out, or is?
Well, he was mulling about doing it case by case, and then you know, a lot of the people were just released. Now, some people got their sentence commuted. There's a difference between a commuted sentence and a full pardon. So I think that's the big kind of difference here. What do you guys think?
Well, they let some of them out last night, but have they let the rest of them out, or what's going on with that?
I did see a video. I don't recall exactly what was happening, but I saw that some officers were trying to avoid the direct order, and although they were required to let people out, they were not actually letting out the J6ers who were pardoned and keeping them in, which is false imprisonment if that's true. So I need to look into that more, but I did see something.
There's also reports of a lot of the people that are being released and literally in open fields, being driven off away from the jail in order not to get those kind of public images of them coming out of the prison, being greeted by their family members. So it definitely does seem like a lot of these kind of prisoners are specifically kind of held away from the general public and kind of denied access access to total freedom.
I think Biden did a really great service for Trump because he basically set the
Absolutely.
bar so low. When you issue preemptive pardons to your own family members and to Fauci, then that
True.
pretty much gives carte blanche for Trump to pardon whoever he wants.
Exactly. And I think there was a lot of things at play here. That could have been one of them, because Donald Trump wasn't happy about those pardons. Donald Trump was like, hey, as I'm literally about to be inaugurated, this guy pardons all of his family members. This guy pardons Milley. This guy pardons the J6 committees. Are you kidding me? And I think that was one of the moments that kind of led up to him saying, F it. All 1,500 of them, release them now, which I think is absolutely needed. And that's the type of energy I want to see this with the start of this Trump administration.
Well, if you're nitpicking at legalities, you're nitpicking at, morality of the law in terms of who you're going to pardon. And the guy before you literally somewhat invented. I've never seen that done before, where someone was pardoned before they were even charged.
Yeah, you have to have, commit something where they actually say, this is what you're guilty of. And then they say, okay, well, we're going to erase that. Well, what the hell did you do?
Yeah,
Well, we know what they did.
it was like Biden was erasing before anything was written. And so if I were Trump, it'd be hard to try to be nitpicky about who gets pardoned and who doesn't get pardoned, when Biden is just living by his
blanket pardons from 2014 based off all of their activities,
Right.
and it's just extremely vague, and it could be implemented in so many different ways. But Dr. Fauci, I thought that was the biggest slap in the face to everyone paying attention here,
Huge
since
slap.
Yeah, but
clearly he was a liar.
You know what? I don't care what anybody says about it. After seeing him on 60 Minutes saying how he is, devastated, it's destroyed his life, that he can't so much as go get a pack of gum at a 7-Eleven without having security. And he has, a Secret Service that we pay
boo-hoo.
for.
Yeah.
I don't know if he still has it. But, he was complaining bitterly that he can't go to a ball game, he can't go shopping, he can't do anything because half the country wants to kill him.
We saw Fauci throw a ball.
What is a better punishment for somebody that just did this to gain all this money, to be greedy, to be able to, spend it and live an affluent life, when now you are literally in the cage that you built yourself?
Yeah,
True.
Trump rescinded Secret Service protection for John Bolton. and then on top of that, he revoked his security clearance, and he revoked the security clearance for 51 other intel agencies that told us that the Hunter Biden laptop was a part of this Russian collusion story that they literally just made up out of their own butts. This is great. This is awesome.
It's awesome. Winning.
Well, I also think it's good that he set this standard now for preemptive pardons, because there are a lot of people right now that are on the right or in the liberty community that have been the subject of lawfare, where the process of lawfare itself goes on and on for years and years before you actually get a conclusion. And so now there's an opportunity to pardon some of those people before having to go through the multi-million-dollar, multi-year process of actually getting to a full judgment.
That's true.
Yeah, but it's going to tear apart the very fabric of the Biden, syndicate, so to speak, because all those corporations, what was it, something like 124 corporations or LLCs or something like that, and they didn't provide any goods or services. Well, that's an awful lot of hands. So so it's not Jill, it's not Hunter, it's not, this one, or this one, but there's a whole lot of other ones. And the people that got the pardons can no longer claim the fifth. So sooner or later, this is going to snowball into something that's incredibly nasty. There's no way around it.
Yeah, that sounds nasty. I don't. It would be interesting to see if Trump will use that same gameplay and use the carte
Why
blanche
not?
pardon, and if a court will try to attempt to rule that is unconstitutional or not allowed within the rules, and if that would roll over backwards and cancel out Biden's
they're
pardons.
basically, it's all experimental. I mean, it's never. There's no precedent.
Well,
it's never
there is
happened before.
the precedent was Nixon. I think there was a preemptive pardon issued to Nixon. So this isn't completely without precedent. It's just that it's one of those, once in a lifetime, really rare things, but it has happened before.
Okay, alrighty.
We'll have to ask Roger Stone.
Well, it's very telling. It's very kind of indicative of an administration that knows that they messed up, that knows that they could be held accountable, because these preemptive pardons aren't done for innocent people, right? You don't pardon innocent people. And I think the American public still really hasn't found out the larger kind of gravitas to the criminality of the J6 committee, of the Dr. Fauci's that were working behind the scenes. I mean, Dr. Fauci was kind of enabled to do what he did because of the Patriot Act. I mean, this guy has been around for far too long, and there was a specific provision in there that allowed gain-of-function bioweapons lab kind of production that allowed him to do a lot of this crazy stuff. Now, Barack Obama actually paused it temporarily, but then it was kind of restarted right under Trump's administration, right under Trump's nose. I don't think Trump even realized this, but there was a situation where the federal government, the bureaucrats, were just lying to Donald Trump during his first administration, and now it seems like, you know what, Trump's like, I'm not going to trust any of you guys. I'm going to make actions. I'm going to make decisions. And he's even hinting at the possibility of retaliating against Joe Biden. He released this very interesting cryptic message, which we're going to play to you guys now.
This guy went around giving everybody pardons. And you know, the funny thing, maybe the sad thing, is he didn't give himself a pardon. And if you look at it, it all had to do with him. This guy went around
I kind of agree with that. Now, the question is, will Donald Trump continue the kind of legal lawfare? Will he actually open up investigations? And is that the right move to make here against Joe Biden? What do you guys think?
I don't think so. I think that's kind of how we start a banana republic. Even if you start, it's unfortunate because we have politicians who are so corrupt, and so you don't want to lock them up because it's like, oh, well, that's what a banana republic does. We lock up your politicians and you lock up ours, and then it goes into martial law and it becomes a whole mayhem. So that's unfortunate because then you don't want to lock anybody up. But at the same time, it's true. You don't want to just start locking up your political adversaries.
Yeah, an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. But is it even really Trump's decision, or is it the DOJ, or is he assigning?
It's his attorney general that's going to be
but
deciding this. Pam Bondi, that's going to be making a lot of these decisions, and I think she's going to be acting on the request of Donald Trump here. So I kind of agree with your sentiment, Lauren, but I disagree because I think at least there should be investigations. At least we should find out what in the world happened here, and if those investigations lead to criminal actions, I think there should be some legitimate actions here because it's pretty clear Joe Biden has been the man of the lobbyists his entire career. The finagling, the deals that he cut with China, with Ukraine, were absolutely criminal. And now none of his family members are ever going to be held accountable for that. I at least want a little bit of restitution. I want a little bit of heat, at least turned up. I'm not saying arrest them for no reason. I'm saying at least investigate them. At least look into it.
Let me throw it back to you then. Should we also investigate the Clintons, and should we also
Absolutely.
investigate the
Yes.
Obamas?
Yes.
And then once
Yes.
we start putting away
Could
all
we-
of the
could we do a-
Democrats,
Could we
shouldn't
do a
we?
fundraiser for that? Yes.
Like, don't
Yes.
you? I just feel like it's just such a bad. I mean, even if they
I mean,
did commit
Hillary
all of
Clinton,
these,
oh my goodness. Come on. That woman has so many skeletons in her closet. You can't even imagine the layers of criminality that she was involved in. Bill Clinton, Amina, Arkansas, we could go all the way back until the 80s, especially with all of the CIA-connected drug running that he was connected to. We could go all the way back to all those private airplane trips to Epstein Island. Yes, yes, yes. Investigate all of them, please, immediately.
And then
Yet there they are, front row to the inauguration.
Yeah. And,
Well-
and they didn't seem happy there.
imagine what would happen
That's
though then when
priceless.
the conservatives lose power and it's the Democrats' turn, and maybe
And
they
then,
don't play legal lawfare fairly.
No. You add in George W. Bush. You investigate him too.
Okay.
And then you make it fair. And then you're like, look, it's not just the Clintons and the Obamas. It's also Bush that looked very peculiar. I made a tweet with him kind of spazzing out, making all these like weird faces, saying this is what happens when you think the 9/11 documents are about to be released. It went like mega viral for some strange reason. But the Bushes hate Trump as well. And there's a
Yes.
larger disconnect between them as well, as Trump previously hinted that the Bushes had a hand to play in 9/11. So Trump said this all the way back in 2016. Yes, investigate every last one of them, clean shop, drain the swamp, and please, please, please investigate till the end of day.
If you're gonna throw Bush in there as like you got a Republican and no Republican claims him, then I don't think the Democrats are gonna be like, they're gonna play clips of all of us being like, We all hate Bush, and so you could have him.
No, they love
throw
Bush.
them
They
in
cheer
jail.
for Bush.
I know, they
cheer
do.
for Bush now. Liz
They
Cheney,
do.
Bush, and the Bushes and the Cheneys were aligned with Kamala Harris this election
Yeah,
cycle.
I'm aware.
Yeah, the whole old regime, the whole old investigate everyone. Aaron, what do you think about this? Do we investigate? Do we prosecute? What's the perfect situation here, other than just me dreaming of this?
I don't think that he will. I think he wants to move forward. And I also think it would chew up a lot of resources and bandwidth, and it would lead to a lot of just internal bickering that would slow down the rest of his agenda. I do wish we would get the truth, but I mean, the fact that these people that are guilty are already pardoned, to me, to a certain degree, when you get the truth but it doesn't lead to action, it's almost more demoralizing.
Yeah.
Well, it depends because we're still on the heels of the RFK files, the JFK files being potentially released, as well as people are saying at any moment, at any time, we are going to have a huge document drop, specifically telling the American public what really happened with JFK. So
I can tell you exactly what happened.
What happened?
The CIA whacked him, and everybody's gone now, and nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, Lyndon B. Johnson whacked him.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to assess that with the intel agencies. That's, of course, he wasn't playing ball with a lot of the foreign policy and a lot of the kind of regime changes that the CIA wanted, especially in Cuba. And I'm super excited for these documents to come out. It's been, 60 plus years that the American people have been denied these documents? Are you kidding me? And then he's going to open up investigations. So Lauren, you got to understand here. What I'm saying is probably already going to happen, since Trump is saying he's going to release all the JFK files, the RFK files, and run a special investigation on government assassinations, which he's probably going to uncover Hillary Clinton, absolutely, the Bushes, absolutely, as of course these are the intelligence agency puppets that have carried out their kind of agenda very well throughout the last few years. So it's going to happen.
Well, I'm not going to hold my breath, but, we'll see what happens, and we'll see the consequences.
That's what a lot of libertarians said about Ross. And then guess what? Ross got freed. So
The good news is we're going to get to watch a snake eat its tail. So there's going to be a lot of people that just go missing and unalive, and there's going to be interesting circumstances for a lot of people.
Yes, I mean, that sounds horrid. That sounds really scary. That sounds like a scary place to live.
Just the investigation itself is going to, make it happen. So you wouldn't even have to prosecute them. They're just going to start disappearing and having strange coincidences.
Well, that's how sometimes intel agencies act when they want to cover their tracks and they don't want people to testify. That's what we usually kind of see in the movies, but also that's kind of what kind of happens in American politics, especially when it comes to journalists that get too close to the truth. Individuals like Gary Webb and others that have, lost their lives when they were scratching at the surface of larger exposures that the American people so badly wanted exposed. So these are exciting times. I'm pretty stoked. I'm pretty optimistic. I know there was a back and forth. I don't know how you were dealing with this, Aaron, but there was a lot of doomers. There was a lot of negative Nancys that were saying, there's no way Ross is going to be freed. And I was, doing my thing behind the scenes, and I know how the story was kind of developing. I knew the lead up to it. I knew before the announcement of Trump that this was going to happen. I had to keep quiet, which was very hard for me to do, and I did. I knew that he promised to do it. I knew he was going to, keep his promise. He did. And there's a lot of now interesting kind of conversations happening online with people being like, yeah, see, it actually did happen. Maybe being such a doomer, maybe being so negative wasn't the best productive thing to do. Maybe actually, thanking Donald Trump and going along with this larger kind of coalition now that's being built here could be the smarter kind of initiative here. Where do you stand on this kind of larger debate?
Yeah, I was actually at the Libertarian Convention, and I was there for Trump's speech. And in fact, I ended up endorsing Trump. I ran for president, by the way, which is kind of a side note, in the Republican primary, specifically to raise awareness about CBDCs. So I talked to Vivek. He read my book. We had a number of conversations about it. So I wasn't previously a Trump fan, but I ended up endorsing Trump because of what Angela McArdle did with the Libertarian Party and because of what happened at that event. And, I was skeptical because I can't really remember any time during my life where a politician made a promise and followed through. But I thought, you know what? It's worth a shot. Like, what do we have to lose? Are we gonna go with this and potentially save somebody's life or not? And the truth is, not only did he fulfill it, he went above and beyond. He went from, not just commuting the sentence, but a full pardon. So I think it was a masterstroke on the part of Angela McArdle. And
Absolutely.
I hope she doesn't get punished for this. I hope people take this as the biggest win in the history of the Libertarian Party. And we use it to move from here. I thought it was wonderful.
She faced a lot of criticism, and I made sure to back her. And even just backing her in this whole larger initiative that I saw in the works here behind the scenes, I got a lot of flack for her. They're like, you sold out. And I'm like, guys, we have an opportunity to free a man who's been imprisoned for 11 plus years. I remember covering the Ross Ulbricht case in court. I remember talking to his mother 10 plus years ago. I've been interviewing her almost every single year. This was one of the biggest cases for the libertarians that was achieved, that was done. This is a major kind of marker, milestone that I think we should look back and appreciate and understand we got here because of people being pragmatic, not because of people being negative. And truly, the work that Angela did, super important. The work that Roger Stone did, also extremely important. He did a lot of stuff behind the scenes as well, helping push this forward as well. But of course, it's not just Ross that needs freeing. It's also a lot of other people now that also need freeing as well, as there's very crazy stories regarding Ian. There's very crazy stories regarding, of course, I'm blanking right now. Roger Ver, of course. Pardon me, brain fart there. But these individuals deserve a pardon as well. You've been looking into those cases. Can you give us more of the kind of facts surrounding them and why they are on your purview and why they are important to you?
Yeah, so when I wrote my book, I started writing it in 2022, and then I put it out there. And Ian had me on his radio show. And I explained to him, I said, listen, the reason that they're going after you is that this is part of government policy. This is part of Biden's Executive Order 14067, which says we're going to pursue a CBDC and we're going to use a whole of government approach for cracking down on crypto. And in his case, they spent years trying to set Ian up. And all Ian was doing was essentially operating Bitcoin ATMs. He had a legal church that he had established, and he had ATMs, and he was also teaching people all over the state about Bitcoin. In fact, Roger Ver, who is known as Bitcoin Jesus, learned about Bitcoin for the very first time from Ian in 2010. So Ian is like one of the, he really is at the end of the day responsible for introducing a lot of people to this. And so they manufactured, they had insiders, they had plants, they had people from the IRS, they had people from the DEA. They were trying to catch him doing illegal activities. They were trying to catch him selling Bitcoin to people that were supposedly involved with drugs. And Ian actually shot all of that down. And nevertheless, they ended up getting him for selling Bitcoin without a license. Mm-hmm. But then they layered a whole bunch of other charges, even holding him responsible for what one of his clients did. Was involved with allegedly romance scams. So Ian ended up, and my wife and I were actually at his sentencing hearing. He's now in prison for 8 years for, essentially, I think the largest charge that he's now dealing with is conspiracy to commit money laundering. They actually dropped the money laundering charge itself, but the conspiracy claim held. And so he has a really good shot at actually having this overturned. There's a hearing in Boston on February the 3rd. In federal court, and hopefully his case will be overturned. But when they came after him, they sent the ATF. They sent a whole bunch of people. They actually brought in a Bearcat. They stormed down. They broke his windows, broke his doors, and just completely raided.
Yeah, he had Free Talk Live there, and I think there was a bunch of people from the Free State community that were living there. And it was, I think, in the middle of winter too. They kind of stormed in, kicked everyone outside, and it was like a full military style invasion with all these turtled up military dudes walking in there because he didn't have a license to use Bitcoin. Which is just absolutely maddening. It's absolutely crazy. He thought he was safe because he created his own kind of religion and was using kind of religious freedoms in order to express this kind of larger transfer of cryptocurrencies and Bitcoins. But it does highlight the larger kind of absurdity of the state. When there's human traffickers out there, there's actual legitimate bad players out there, and the government is spending its resources going after people who are using Bitcoin without a license. Are you kidding me?
A lovely lady on the right just wants to clarify. I think she's your wife. Wants to clarify that. It's February 5th.
It's February the 5th.
February 5th. And just out of curiosity, who are the co-conspirators in this case? Like, what are the alleged facts in this case? Are they saying it's because of the romance scam that
there's the romance scam, and Ian doesn't even know who was responsible for doing the romance scams, and the FBI never actually caught that person. So the person who actually did the romance scams, we don't even know the identity of that person, and that person hasn't been held accountable.
And that's the basis of the
probably-
conspiracy
Yes.
to commit
The
fraud.
feds.
How? I mean, a conspiracy requires that you have an agreement together to commit a crime. So how are they possibly going to prove that there was any agreement to commit a crime when he's never even met this person? He doesn't know who it is. He doesn't know what.
Because if it was a Fed, it would be
Well,
entrapment.
Conspiracy is a really wide thing. I spent 5.5 years in a $280 million lawsuit myself for conspiracy. And it was conspiracy to commit defamation. And the person that was
Wow.
suing me, I was involved with lawfare before it was cool.
Wild.
But basically,
A lot of us have been, sadly. You know, that's what makes us libertarians and anarchists and all these freedom-oriented, individuals, because we had to deal with the government in such an egregious way.
and it teaches you a lot. But most people, the jury doesn't necessarily know about this. So they use conspiracy as a catch-all. So in my case, I never even made any defamatory statements about the person in question.
Right.
Nor did I ever meet this person. And yet it's all this discovery and going through all this process, and it's not an absolute proof standard. So if they can convince a jury through whatever magic that they use that you were involved in the conspiracy, then that can hold.
Well, the conspiracy isn't about committing the crime. So, like, if I, for instance, am charged with conspiracy to commit arson, I don't have to actually light anything on fire. Nothing actually has to be lit on fire. All I have to do is agree with Liza, for instance. Hey, Liza.
Hey.
I'm going to rope you into it. I'm sorry. I can say, hey, Liza, how
Put
about
her
you
away.
and
She
I...
needs to go away.
How about you and I commit
No.
arson together?
No,
and you
no,
say
no.
yes,
No
I
soundbite.
say yes. Now we've committed conspiracy together. It doesn't matter about like if the crime was actually perpetrated. And then you have to make certain, and then there's more to it. Like you have to make certain steps towards the action. Like she bought the lighter fluid. I
No,
bought
I
the
didn't.
matches.
Nope.
Yes, she did. And
I'll testify. She did.
No,
Absolutely did.
no.
Put her away immediately.
Somebody's going to use this as a soundbite 2 years from now.
Yes, she looks like the type too. I
Wow,
mean, if there
wow,
ever
wow.
was a type, that would be her right there.
I
No,
don't
but
think so.
if you retweet a defamatory statement, then you can actually be charged with conspiracy to commit defamation.
Oh boy, am
Yeah.
I in trouble.
Look what happened to Douglas Mackey and his larger, tweet message that, of course, he sent out, memeing a joke about the election. He was held criminally responsible for that and then found guilty. So I know he's asking specifically not to have a pardon because he wants to fight this in New York, to have a legal precedent where you could actually send out memes and not be criminally punished for them. But there's people on the left that committed the same crime and
But that's
alleged
different.
crime or the same kind of meme or the same kind of jokes. They were never held responsible. But Douglas Mackey did it on the right. I got to get in touch with him. He's around here too. We got to get him back on the show because I think his case is also coming up. Him trying to, of course, fight back the guilty charge is going to be, I think, happening sometime soon
His
here. So his
case?
appeal is going to be happening soon. So it'll be interesting to talk to him and get more support for him as well.
So I think Ian has a really good shot. So again, his hearing is on the 5th. But I mean, in his case, now that this Chevron thing was overturned, it might turn out that this was one of these situations where the DOJ was just absolutely abusing their prosecutorial discretion.
How is the Chevron difference being overturned? How does that relate to this case? Because Chevron is about like whether or not agencies have certain ability to make decisions on their own without once granted general powers, they could use their general powers as they see fit without any court intervention.
Well, they abuse their power. I think one argument is that they abuse their powers. I mean, even this whole issue of the conspiracy claim itself, would that have even been brought under normal circumstances?
Which agency?
I think it's the DOJ.
Oh, okay, I see. All right.
And there are a lot of reasons to overturn this case. I mean, there are actually volumes of reasons to overturn this case. And what's unfortunate about it is that, even at the time, again, Ian had an opinion letter stating that it was okay for him to even do money transmission. I think because it's a difference at the state level and the federal level. So this is one of those issues where the federal government came in and kind of trumped the state government. So I think he has grounds for appeal on many different claims.
Okay.
What's the scariest thing you ever saw happen?
Scariest thing in general, or
No, in what we're talking about, like a real abuse of power that was actually scary.
I think the part to me in this case that was really interesting is, I mean, I haven't trusted government for a long time for a lot of reasons, but it really is this understanding, like we know the rules are kind of set against us, but it's the fact that they really don't care about getting to the truth, and they're willing to omit or really present the information and evidence in a non-truthful light just to get secure a conviction. And that was the case even with some of the audio recordings, where there was documented audio recordings. They had somebody on the inside trying to act as though Ian was not following with Know Your Customer laws. And if you actually listen to the full clip, you would see that he was complying with an attempt to get all of the information under the Know Your Customer laws. But the DOJ wanted to play this one small segment that, taken out of context, tells a completely different story. And that, for me, was the scary thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely did seem like the Biden administration was going after anyone in crypto and Bitcoin, and it set up a very big chilling effect. It made me not want to touch it, because
That was the point.
I automatically have larger problems with the IRS magically right before the election that are huge and vast. SaveLukeNow.com. But having this kind of chilling effect, especially with these larger financial institutions that were debanking people for just clearly wanting to implement and use Bitcoin, even legally, even with KYC, even throughout all the ways you have to fill out all the paperwork to do it officially. Those people even got debanked, according to a lot of insiders from the Biden administration that went after them and said, you know what? Yeah, you guys are at risk here. We're going to take away your licenses. We're going to punish you if you guys don't debank these people. And a lot of banks were like, okay, I can't work with this. Even major prominent institutions. So it did seem like Bitcoin was public enemy number one for the Biden administration. And they did a lot of things, including setting up this chilling effect that stopped a lot of innovation, that stopped a lot of growth, stopped a lot of progress, stopped this new kind of technological advancement that has kind of freed people, but also enriched so many people. If there ever was a technology that enriched the poorest people in our society, it's Bitcoin. And I think that's why they saw it as such a larger threat, as well as its larger kind of possibilities for decentralization, which they really don't like themselves either.
No, they don't like it. And it really was a whole of government approach. So as you said, I mean, through the FDIC, they were going after the banks. Through the SEC, they targeted anybody that raised money or tried to do anything, even some of them not raising money, issuing what's called a utility token. There were over 127 actions by the SEC against companies related to crypto. You had the CFTC, you had the Treasury. The largest ever settlement that the United States Treasury obtained was $4 billion against a cryptocurrency exchange called Binance. You have the FBI, the DOJ, you have the IRS, and the IRS is getting involved in this in multiple ways. It's not only selective prosecution of people like Roger Ver, but they're now requiring you to disclose your self-custody cryptocurrency holdings.
And they announced that right before, at the end of December, like right as Biden's leaving office. They're like, you're going to have to announce, your self-custody now. And I think Trump's going to be upending that very soon as well.
I certainly hope he is, and I hope he upends this whole 14067. But I mean, it has been an assault. And again, the reason that this became such an important issue for me is that the reason that they're going after crypto is because crypto offers an alternative to CBDCs. So the government under Biden was explicitly pushing a central bank digital currency, a single digital currency that can be programmed and tracked centrally. And having something like Bitcoin or having other decentralized alternatives makes it very difficult for them to, push this one control mechanism. And so that's why all of this is going on. In Ian's case, I actually reached out to Roger Ver and I asked him if he would help promote Ian's sentencing hearing. And then 7.5 months later, Roger finds himself arrested in Spain.
Yeah. Before getting into Roger, because we have Roger's website linked up too. Anything else we should say about Ian? Because there's a website, freeiannow.org, where you could sign a petition, you could get involved, you could find out exactly what's going on here. Freeian.org is the website. Anything else we should say about the case surrounding Ian?
I would just say sign the petition, share information about it. It does help to get the awareness, and we do want to get as many people at this hearing on February the 5th as possible, because it does make a difference.
Absolutely, 100%. We learned that, especially at the local kind of town hall that we're battling with now to try to end water fluoridation. The people that come out do absolutely matter, especially the larger kind of impact you're able to kind of make, showing people like, hey, it's not just this one individual. There's a whole bunch of people that don't want this to be a dangerous precedent against these larger kind of freedom initiatives. And if there ever was a freedom technology, I think it is Bitcoin, it is cryptocurrency, it is the ability to transact freely with each other that the government saw as a threat. And then, of course, now we have freerogervernow.org, another website where people could find out, I think also sign petitions and get involved with what's happening there, as well as Roger Stone, Tucker Carlson, Charlie Kirk, Robert Barnes, Stella Assange. All these people made statements in favor of Roger Ver. That case sounds even more egregious. It's really hard to say because they're all both really egregious. Both of these people are facing very serious repercussions. But what's the Roger Ver case? If you could explain it for someone who has never heard about this particular case.
So the Roger story starts when, actually, Roger grew up in Silicon Valley and got involved in politics as a libertarian, spoke out vocally against the ATF, and said they were murdering children and a lot of other statements that were true, and was very vocal about things like taxation is theft and war is murder funded by theft. And so he was arrested for selling fireworks through the mail. And he's the only person that went to jail for this. There were major retailers like Cabela's catalog that were selling the exact same model of firework. But because of his political statements, he actually ended up agreeing to a plea deal and spent 10 months in federal prison, where he was kind of emotionally tortured. It was a horrible experience. But when he got out, he realized, he needed to leave the United States. So he left the United States. He was trying to expatriate, but because he had this record, that was actually more difficult than he originally thought. So it was hard to find some other place to domicile. But he moved to Japan in 2006, got involved with Bitcoin really early in 2010. And in fact, he earned the nickname Bitcoin Jesus because he really evangelized Bitcoin. He was the first major retailer in Bitcoin. He was the first investor in the Bitcoin ecosystem. So he invested in Bitcoin.com, Kraken, a whole variety of different companies. He was even the co-founder of XRP. So, he's been dedicated to the idea that cryptocurrency is peer-to-peer digital cash that you can use outside of central bank control, and that can liberate people by providing, freedom to trade with a currency not tied to this authoritarian state.
They're not going to allow that.
Well, they're not going to allow that. So but he's been probably, I would argue, the single most effective advocate for peer-to-peer digital cash on the planet.
That's why he's in jail.
And that's why he's in jail. So he expatriates. He finally finds a home in St. Kitts in 2014, and so he expatriates. And when you expatriate, you have to pay a tax. You basically have to,
pay an exit tax.
You have to pay an exit tax on your entire net worth, which he did. He hired the best accountants and lawyers to go through this valuation exercise because he knew, based on his situation with fireworks, that they were going to scrutinize him heavily. So they come after him years later, initially in 2017, and they say, "Hey, you didn't pay enough." They didn't tell him how much.
Yep.
And there's something interesting that you have to understand about this. If you're talking about taxes related to 2014, people didn't understand how to treat Bitcoin in 2014. If you went to 10 different accountants, you were going to get 10 different answers. Even the IRS didn't have clear guidelines on this. Was Bitcoin an asset? Was it a currency? How do you classify it? And this wasn't known. And so the one other thing that happened in 2014 is the largest cryptocurrency exchange at the time, called Mt. Gox, was hacked. And so basically, when Roger left and expatriated, there was really no place to sell Bitcoin. If he were to have sold all of his Bitcoin at fair market value, it would have tanked the market, arguably would have dropped the price almost to zero, and there would have been no tax to pay. So nevertheless, they go after him retroactively. And throughout this process, other things happen. They violate his attorney-client privilege. They send armed IRS agents into his attorney's office to steal his records, and to try to use his records against him, which, of course, it turns out that if you go to freerogernow.org, you can scroll down to the bottom of the page. There's a link to motion to dismiss, and Roger has released the paperwork showing that he did, in fact, try to comply. He has the emails back and forth with his lawyers and accountants showing that, hey, he's like, listen, I'll even pay more, even if we can, skirt around the issue. He's like, I know they're going to try to come after me, so let's come up with, a conservative approach to this. And so that's now come out as part of his records. And in fact, it even seems like the DOJ might have lied to the grand jury initially to even kick off the case by not disclosing this information.
Wow.
And so Roger had actually challenged this breach of attorney-client privilege all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court wouldn't hear it. They didn't judge on it one way or the other. And actually, there was a lull in the case. Roger actually thought they just decided to abandon the case because of how absurd it was.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of people that didn't pay tax on crypto at all. In fact, I think the cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase sent out 80 or 90,000 letters to people saying, hey, listen, you might not have known it, but you owe taxes for this time period. Well, Roger actually is probably one of the only people that went above and beyond to pay his taxes. So now we fast forward. There's a lull in the action, and all of a sudden, Roger gets arrested in Spain. This is in April of last year. He gets thrown into the same prison fellow libertarian and friend of Roger's, John McAfee, was in. In fact, McAfee was in this prison for 244 days, fighting extradition to the United States on tax issues. And then McAfee lost his final appeal and then ended up dead 24 hours later. So this is the prison Roger found himself in.
Wow.
It's terrifying.
He ended up getting out on bail, but he has now been fighting this extradition to the United States for 270 days. So longer, he's been fighting extradition longer than McAfee. And what he's facing is 109 years, basically a life sentence for, and by the way, here's what they get you on. You talk about technicalities. They're saying, well, you were fraudulent with your taxes and you filled them out by mail. So every time you sent in a tax return, that's 20 years.
Oh, wow.
A fraudulent tax return. So this is how you get to 109 years. And throughout this entire process, they have not offered a settlement. They have not told him how much he owes. He's even sent FOIA requests to find out information about what is it? Tell me what I owe. He said he'd be willing to. He's like, he thought he paid the right amount, but there's no negotiation. This is 100% politically motivated.
The IRS.
Yeah.
They want to make an example out of him.
Dealing with the IRS is just so infuriating. I mean, I'm dealing with my own issues. SaveLukeNow.com. I hate to plug it, but man, when they get you, they get you. And then trying to communicate with them, trying to even get them on the phone, that's another saga because they just hang up on you randomly. You're talking to an agent, and I'm like, hey, this is the situation. Can you guys help me out? Okay. And they're like, hold on 1 second. Click. And I'm like, oh, I got to call them again. Wait an hour again. And I tried independently to call them. And I was like, Steph, I need your help here. And I'm like, Steph, just call them and just give me the phone whenever you can. And we did that. And then again, I'm like, hey, okay, I need this figured out here. Boom, hanging up on me again. So there's larger possibilities here of significant change with Donald Trump going after the IRS. I hope he does it. There's larger significant changes that Donald Trump has promised, specifically in the cryptocurrency Bitcoin space. But I think we got to get this video out to Twitter. We got to get this video out to his staff members. They need to find out about these larger Bitcoin cases because this is about setting the wrongs right. And if you want to do that, you got to free these individuals that were arbitrarily punished for these larger political reasons. So if anyone has an ear to Donald Trump, this is the time where you say, hey, you build up your legacy even more and then show people that the wrongs that the previous administration did, they could be fixed. I mean, he came out with his statement with Ross Ulbricht calling the prosecutors scum. That's big. That's major. So that's highlighting.
It's also factual.
Yeah. You look at that specific case with Ross Ulbricht. You see a lot of lying from the prosecutors. You see federal agents stealing Bitcoin. You see federal agents lying under oath. FBI agents were literally held criminally responsible for their mishandling of this whole entire case because they stole money from this entire larger saga. So clearly they were acting in an extremely scummy way. And I hope there's going to be some legal retribution and justice here that is delved out through Donald Trump.
So I wrote a lengthy article about this, why Roger Ver deserves a pardon. And you can find it at brownstone.org. Zero Hedge also picked it up. And I outline all of the details of the case because there's obviously a lot to go through. But there are so many similarities between the lawfare that Trump has experienced firsthand and what Roger has experienced. I mean, Trump has been audited multiple times. What New York was trying to do was weaponize his success, weaponize the IRS. Trump has also had his attorney-client privilege breached with Michael Cohen. So
yes.
I think that if President Trump learns about Roger's case, he's going to be incredibly sympathetic to it because Trump is very pro Bitcoin, very pro cryptocurrency, and obviously wants to end the lawfare. And I think Roger's probably clearest embodiment of lawfare. And I want to say a couple of other things about Roger. Roger is probably one of the largest funders of pro-liberty causes, and people are not aware of it. I'll give you an example. Roger was the single largest donor to Ross Ulbricht's legal fees and legal campaign. He was the founding donor of the Brownstone Institute, which, if you like the work that they do on mandates and the censorship industrial complex and everything else, that wouldn't have been there without Roger.
God bless Elon Musk.
He supported FEE. He's supported anti-war causes, and so he's also advocated and supported a lot of people individually.
Yeah, he supported Adam Kokesh too when he was going through his legal battles as well. He supported a lot of individuals when they were going through this kind of a legal repercussion by the state, especially in the liberty freedom movement. Sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
Well, exactly. So this is why I say he is clearly a political target because he's probably one of the most effective people at spreading digital cash, which is opposition to CBDCs, and he's also a huge supporter and financial supporter for other freedom advocacy. So that's why he's targeted. So I think it would be a big win for Trump to pardon him.
Absolutely. Aaron, I want to ask you more in a greater detail. If you're Donald Trump, what do you do here? What are the moves and initiatives that you recommend he make? Before we do that, I just want to address some of the people in the chat. Shouts out to Sam Seipel, who's watching, who waved to us. We're waving back to you. We got Aiden Lopez asking, where should we post our weird comments, here or on my super chat? Either or, as of course members now get the ability to, of course, super chat for free just by being a part of LukeUnfiltered.com. We got another chat here from Aiden Lopez saying, are you planning on coming out with a members video regarding all of these changes? Yes, that has been on my mind already. I have already done the video in my mind like 10 times. I want to do it right because there are some kind of larger implications here, but I'm going to do it soon. It's going to be a walk and talk video with Atlas, who's going to be, of course, a part of that. There's a lot of changes that are going to be happening here. Changes for the good. We're going to be working very hard here. We have a lot of amazing opportunities, and truly, this is a new kind of turning of the page. This is a new government. This is a new country that we're dealing with, and it's going to be filled with a lot of incredible opportunities, especially in the Bitcoin crypto community liberty space, that truly, I think, is making a name for itself by establishing itself as a major political juggernaut that the Republicans now understand they need if they're going to win any upcoming future elections. Sorry, Aaron, the question to you once again. You're Donald Trump. What's the actions? What's the moves you make here with these pardons and with these larger kind of crypto initiatives?
I think he could issue blanket preemptive pardons for no, seriously,
that would be awesome.
I would say for everyone that is the victim of lawfare under Executive Order 14067, because legitimately, again, Roger's nine months into this now, and he still doesn't know what he owes. His process is going to go on for years. That is why
that is the punishment.
That is the punishment. It's the process is the punishment. That is absolutely true in this case, and it's countless other cases. I interviewed a guy last week who started a cryptocurrency called Dragon Chain. Which, he had fully working technology. He was selling tokens that you actually use on the platform. He's been fighting the SEC now for 7 years, millions of dollars in legal fees. Wow. So, if he wants to really invigorate cryptocurrency, if he wants to make America the premier destination, then I would say blanket preemptive pardons, and that's not an overreach. That will absolutely stimulate things because people are not starting cryptocurrency projects in the United States. They've been going to the UAE. They've been going to other countries.
El Salvador, especially Argentina now as well.
Yeah, so he could stop that literally in an instant.
And then use those people as advisors to put together a new system that they use.
But keep the money, keep the innovation, keep these new corporations being built here in America rather than everywhere else abroad.
Yeah, I think we should be trying to figure out how do we get Roger Ver to come back to the United States voluntarily and invest and do all the wonderful things that he's done, as opposed to trying to drag him here by force while destroying his ability to be productive.
And trying to put him in jail for 100+ years, which is absolutely egregious, absolutely crazy. And to me, I really do believe they're just trying to make an example out of him. Well, Lauren, you're in this legal field. What do you make of these particular cases? Because I don't think you heard about them until now.
Right. I'm wondering if the if the pardons are the way to go, or if rather adding constitutional amendments that would make corrupt agencies responsible for their actions. So, like, as of right now, for instance, if a police officer violates your Fourth Amendment crime, what's the result? The result is that Fourth Amendment right. The result is that the alleged defendant is clear to their charges. If like you can't use any of, not even necessarily clear to their charges, but any of the evidence that is found against the defendant during that illegal search cannot be used against them in court. However, there's no ramifications for the officer who invaded your home without a warrant or who, completely destroyed your Fourth Amendment rights. So I think it goes down to the IRS. It goes down to all of these three-letter agencies. If they're corrupt, there needs to be some sort of action against them. I think that needs to be a constitutional amendment. I think we should amend the Fourth Amendment in that matter and other amendments as well. And just start holding people accountable, because then I don't think they're going to be so brazen. The pardons I feel like are supposed to be for special situations, and instead of just like handing them out, even though I understand where you're coming from, like I agree with you, especially with where we're at right now, with this legal system being used as a sword instead of a shield, and it was built for the purposes of shielding the people from a corrupt government, and that same corrupt government is turning around and using the legal field to go after their citizens. I would like to see the legal field fixed. I would like to see our laws fixed as opposed to just protecting people from the laws.
I'd like to see the laws fixed too, but these people shouldn't spend a minute in jail for this.
Fair.
And it was weaponized. I'll tell you, there was one other case related to this. I had interviewed Roger 3 weeks before he was arrested, and then I interviewed another guy named Steven Nerioff. And I will go through all the details of his story, but I'll get to the punchline, which is he had some information that was not favorable involving a cryptocurrency project in the SEC. And he all of a sudden found himself in the middle of the night, 12 FBI agents come to his house, arrest him, throw him in a van, and show him 2 pages of names. And they basically manufactured an extortion case against him. And they said, unless you give us information that leads to conviction on multiple of these people, you'll never see your kids again. And the list of people was this perfect intersection of people in the cryptocurrency field and the liberty field. Roger Vere's name was on the list. This is 2019. Naomi Brockwell, Patrick Byrne, a whole bunch of other people that are kind of noted in this space. He ended up getting the case. The DOJ ended up dropping their case against him, and he's now suing the federal government for, I think, $9 billion.
Nice.
Alan Dershowitz is his lawyer.
Awesome.
But here's my point. My point is, when I say this was politically motivated, they were making up cases against other people to get those people to spill information about people for whom they had no case.
Absolutely. And then they just go, oopsies, okay, fine, he's let go. But at that point, they've already gathered information from him under duress. If he did, maybe he didn't spill the beans, maybe he was brave enough to stick to his guns. But I imagine a lot of people, if they were, taken in the middle of the night by the FBI and told to spill dirt or even manufacture dirt on people on a list, they're going to do it, and now they have that dirt, and then maybe whatever charges they were pursuing against him, okay, those weren't reasonable, and we'll drop the case here. What is the consequence for that? There is no consequence for that. Then they could just continue with these actions forever.
And they're encouraged to continue with those actions.
Well, I'll say in this case, I mean, the pardon, because again, I don't think Roger should spend a second in jail. I don't think he should spend any more time on this. In fact, I think he probably overpaid. And, what is the calculation? What's the lost opportunity cost for Roger for not being able to? I mean, how much damage has this done to his own ongoing businesses, right?
I agree.
No one will ever pay for that. There's no cure for that. No one's going to give him emotional damages or financial compensation.
I think there needs to be a combination of our solutions, pardons for the people who are already being victimized, but in the future, but also amend the laws so that people won't be victimized in the future.
Yeah, I agree. We should do both. But actually, in Roger's case, there's an interesting example that Trump has floated, which is abolishing the IRS. So give Roger Ver a pardon and then abolish the IRS. So then we don't have to worry about the IRS.
That'd be music to my ears. I would be like, yes, please, best president ever. Automatically, you have my support all the way, 100%. I mean, he is talking about the ERS.
You would vote for him a fourth time.
I voted for him every single time, and a lot of people were like, "What, you did?" I can't. Of course, I did. You saw the writings on the wall. It was something that, of course, it was was just clear as day for me, even though I criticized Trump on some of his policies that he later came out and was like, yeah, that was kind of messed up. It was. A lot of Trump supporters were kind of mad at me, but I'm like, hey, no, we got to be honest here as best as we can here. And truly, he has a lot of opportunities to fix a lot of wrongs. And I think it's up to us to get this message out there. And I think more than ever, we have an administration that is actually listening to people, that actually is hearing out issues and actually acting on them in a legitimate way where it's not just campaign promises. Because Trump could have been like, yeah, I promised this, doesn't mean I have to do this. And we see a lot of politicians always do this. We saw this with Obama. We saw this with Biden. We saw this with so many criminal politicians that are like, we're going to end the wars. We're going to do this. This time it's different, and this guy means it. And truly, seeing their response, especially on social media, when people are like, hey, that guy that you're trying to pick here for this government position is absolutely horrible. You see all of these kind of right-wingers, America First types being like, I don't want this. And then we see the administration act on it and be like, yeah, we're going to make sure that this doesn't happen.
Yeah,
so,
can we drink the Flint, Michigan water yet? I mean, how many people have promised that? And it's just, we've never received any resolution to it. Now, I would love to see the IRS abolished. However, if they aren't abolished, I do think that we just need to start holding IRS agents accountable. Like, for instance, Luke, you talking about trying to get on the phone with these people. There should be similar to a DMV. There should be an actual place that you could walk into, get an IRS agent in front of you and work stuff out, as opposed to just...
Disagree. Abolish the IRS. Abolish all taxes immediately. More government, more IRS buildings? Never. No.
All right. This has been all gloom and doom for the past half an hour or more.
Oh, no.
So I wanted to hear what you think. Like, be as naive as you can, and think, what could be the greatest outcome of all of this? Where do you anticipate it, say 5 years from now, or at the end of Trump's his term?
Well, I am optimistic. I mean, I'm very optimistic.
Good. Let's hear something good.
Well, I'm optimistic based on what happened with Ross. And so I actually don't think that it's impossible. I think it's actually, I just saw today that Elon Musk had interjected on this Roger situation and is bringing the matter up with Trump. I think Trump already knows about it, but I mean, this is getting on his radar. I think that a pardon for Roger or getting the case dropped is real, and I think that there really is a possibility that we could get rid of the IRS. And so those are really positive things that could happen.
Like, and then the future of crypto, what do you see?
In the future of crypto, I mean, one thing I do wish Trump would do, and he hasn't done it yet, but he's not done. He hasn't rescinded this executive order 14067, and I hope he rescinds that because right now, it's official government policy to pursue a CBDC, which Trump came out against, and also this whole of government crackdown. So I think he could just rescind that. But it sounds like he has a lot of other policies that are very pro-crypto.
Yes, especially he's talking about getting rid of capital gains, which would be huge, would allow the market to actually be free of government taxation and restriction, because the taxes now are absolutely ridiculous, especially on crypto, because they want to tax every single event, including transactions from one wallet to another wallet, to one crypto to a different crypto. You have to calculate that, which is virtually impossible. The rules are still vague, but when the government wants to come after you, they're going to look at those things and like, oh yeah, you didn't do this arbitrarily thing that we just made up now, therefore you're responsible for it many years later down the line, which is criminal. So before getting into crypto and Bitcoin policies, we want to talk about one of our sponsors, as of course that is BiltongUSA.com. This stuff is awesome. It's great. We have it here at the house here. Everyone likes it. I like it too. Yeah, it is awesome. And we gave some to Aaron, and you quite enjoyed it as well. Really good stuff. Really good meat filled with, of course, all the good stuff. None of the bad stuff. You go to the frickin' gas station. You look at their kind of beef jerky sections, and it's just filled with crap. This doesn't have any of it. It's good. And you're supporting not only independent media, but a locally small-owned family business by supporting BiltongUSA.com. It's a family-friendly snack, low in carbs, packed with protein, making Biltong the ultimate health snack. Biltong is a great source of iron and also serves as a source of several essential nutrients, including magnesium, potassium, and B vitamins, fueling gains in every aspect of life, whether you're following a carnivore, keto, or high-protein diet. Biltong is the perfect addition to keep you on track. Use promo code WRC10 for 10% off of your purchases. Truly I love Anton. I love Land of Biltong. Great product. Great right after the gym if you're just trying to get protein right after working out. Super great stuff. And you're not just fueling yourself. You're fueling independent media, and you're fueling a small business that also is dealing with the might of the local government that's coming after them as well. Again, this is the story that we keep hearing about Americans just trying to create their own businesses, just trying to innovate, trying to create, trying to help solve problems through the free market, and then the government comes on in and absolutely tries to wreck and destroy them. This now, with this new Trump administration, represents a new day and age where I think a lot of that is going to be completely gone, and that is absolutely beautiful. Going to some of your chats, we're also going to be taking a caller really soon from Chris Baker, who's going to be calling in. We got another chat here from John Black, who says, Eric seems to be the Trump who's being the most vocal about crypto. Eric Trump, we interviewed him a couple times. Great guy, super smart guy, super on top of it, and definitely is speaking a lot of the bigger truths out there, especially on social media, that a lot of people are afraid of. But let's just be honest here. This kind of relationship with Trump and crypto, even his own meme coins. Now, I know some people criticize the meme coins. People are saying, really, do you have to do this? But to me, him doing this is also a sign and a big FU to all the regulators that are, of course, are punishing people for these meme coins. And if he's doing it, we could all do it too. So I think there is saving grace here to understand, yes, it's a meme coin, but guess what? He's also setting the precedent of saying, I am going to do this too. Therefore, anyone could do it, as the crypto Bitcoin industry invested big on Trump, and they're going to cash in, as the USA Today has a very interesting article about this, detailing all the larger regulatory changes that are going to be coming our way with Bitcoin, which a lot of people expect to correlate with the price of it going up. Now, throughout the years, I've never really been hyper-focused on the price of Bitcoin. It's always the technology that is the most important aspect to me, but being able to free people, being able to let this chilling effect go, being able to allow this to be a free market idea with no major capital gains tax on it, with no regulations on it, this is going to open up the Wild West in this whole larger space, which is super exciting and super awesome to be a part of. That's why I'm optimistic. Aaron, how do you think the policies are going to be shaped from here, and how do you see them kind of playing out within the next few years?
Well, I'm not entirely sure. I want to see, because one thing that's really important with cryptocurrency is the ability to have privacy, and this has been one of the issues with Bitcoin. I think Ross believed that it was anonymous. A lot of other early people thought that Bitcoin was anonymous, and it turns out it's the opposite of anonymous. It's actually completely trackable. And we now know that the government, the CIA, and others are working with companies like Chainalysis to actually be able to track everyone's transactions. And so now, if you use a cryptocurrency exchange and you take your crypto off, it's now tracked and tied to your ID. So one thing that's going to be important for me to see is some pro-privacy legislation, or at least to make sure that they don't crack down on privacy, because I think this is going to be very critical. Actually, Roger did an interview with Tucker Carlson. It's the one and only interview he's done since he was arrested, and he actually talked about some interesting technologies, a cryptocurrency called Zano and something called Confidential Layer that allows you to, Zano is a privacy coin, but it's also a privacy token. You can create your own privacy tokens using Zano. And it can actually be used to make your Bitcoin or Ethereum or Bitcoin Cash private. And so I think these kinds of privacy protecting technologies are going to be critical, because we still do have to fight against the threat of CBDCs. And also related to the idea of CBDCs are bank-issued stablecoins. If banks have the ability to issue what are called stablecoins, that's also programmable digital money that can be tracked. And so we don't want to find ourselves in a situation where we're banning decentralized cryptocurrencies in exchange for giving banks more power over the issuance of cryptocurrency. So I look out for that. That's an area that I focus on tracking.
Yeah, there's some very interesting people surrounding Donald Trump. We see Jeff Bezos trying to sneak his way in there, Mark Zuckerberg, Larry Ellison as well, who came out with some very interesting comments about mRNA that we just did a full video on. That's a little creepy. But when we look at like Jeff Bezos, he's working on encryption breaking technology. He's working on a lot of the stuff that is kind of counterindicative that would, of course, track, trace, and database everyone, as he's also working on some really weird surveillance technology with the Pentagon, with the CIA. And it really does highlight larger kind of aggressive maneuvers that they're kind of setting in place to track, trace, and database everyone. And also now genetically code everyone, which is a little concerning.
A little?
So this could, especially when you have like gene-specific bioweapons that could be kind of unleashed and released. A lot of people are like, it'll cure cancer. And I'm like, it could also do the opposite, right? As the first run of the mRNA tech didn't really work out that well, especially in the Western world with the correlation of cancers and fertility and larger kind of heart issues that were correlated with it. Again, correlation doesn't prove causation. But when it comes to these larger technological advancements, there are things to worry about. Would you say central bank digital currencies are the main fear here, or would it be some kind of larger AI hijacking takeover of this?
I mean, I think it's both, but I think CBDCs are kind of the control system for this, because once they can program and censor and track your money, then that's actually the glue for all of these other surveillance systems. And one of the things that I've found as I've been exploring this for the last 2 years is we actually already have a CBDC. Most of the things that people fear about upcoming CBDCs, money that's programmable, money that can be tracked, money that can be censored, we already have. In fact, money is created when the federal government issues an IOU to the Federal Reserve, and then the Federal Reserve actually creates the money out of thin air in an Oracle database. And so when the government's writing their checks and paying all of their vendors, they're actually writing it out of an Oracle database created by the Federal Reserve. So this is how our money works today. And
So ban the Federal Reserve.
well, I would certainly ban the Federal Reserve, without doubt. I mean, the Federal Reserve. I mean, it's really weird when it comes to money. I stress the importance of privacy, but I always expected privacy. I mean, we talked about the Fourth Amendment earlier. I mean, I don't remember this period of time where we should assume that all of our transactions are tracked. I mean, it should be the opposite.
Kids today, that's what they think,
Cryptocurrency, the whole interesting aspect about it is it's blockchain. So every transaction you could see with $1, if I spend it, I don't know what it was spent on previously. I don't know what it's going to be spent on going forward. But with crypto, because of the blockchain, you could see every single transaction each bit of crypto has gone through previously. That's why the tracking is so easy. However, all of the apps that allow you to access crypto, if they were, using like a VPN somehow, or if they had changed their format somehow, is that some way that we could protect privacy? Is that where the flaw is? Because I don't know how you could really change the basis of what crypto is when it is a blockchain.
So I've been living on crypto since 2019. I actually stopped using a bank account. And one of the areas that I actually started focusing on, not all blockchains are the same. There are blockchains that preserve privacy. So there are cryptocurrencies like Monero and Zano and Zcash and others where not every transaction is on the blockchain and not every transaction should be tracked. And frankly, I think that's kind of the future of cryptocurrency. And I think that's where we're going. I mean, certainly there are steps that you can take with VPNs, but even still, if it's on a public blockchain, if you ever have some kind of exit where you're exchanging it for fiat currency, you're going to get tagged.
Yeah, once people find out your address, they connect you to all the transactions you ever made. We're going to have one of the head guys from, the Monero crew on the show Monday, 6 p.m., and then Paul Pui is going to be on 1 p.m. this Friday. So great people from the crypto industry that are going to be a part of this show just for members, but then we're going to release it live on our main YouTube channel. So I think I'm super excited about this day. I'm super excited about this space because, just imagine we get rid of fluoride from the drinking water. We unleash the full potential. We get rid of all these DEI, larger kind of initiatives that discriminate against people, as Trump just signed an executive order that rescinded Lyndon B. Johnson's executive order. This is extremely exciting times because you really do see the full kind of might of America and its willpower just being fully unleashed without any government standing in its way or punishing it arbitrarily. I'm super excited about that. There's some things we should be skeptical of, especially when it comes to AI and especially when it comes to some of these larger kind of technocratic bros out there that are trying to centralize control and make sure that they get to database everything, as of course data is the new oil. I think that's another kind of privacy concern. As the conversation with the TikTok ban, I think it should have been centered around privacy rights. That should have been the conversation. not who owns it, but what information do they get, and how can we protect our data, protect our own information, and how can we make sure that that data and that information isn't used against us? I think that's the frontier that really is worth changing the conversation to.
Well, it's certainly hard to bash China when we know about the censorship industrial complex and what was going on with Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, and everybody else from 2020 on. Well, predating that, but we found out about what happened. And so it's very, I think our own government has probably targeted and screened more of my content than the Chinese government. So I agree with you that there needs to be a single standard, and it needs to apply to all governments, and it needs to be about protecting the privacy and the data rights of the individual, not as it pertains to any particular state.
Absolutely. I mean, I kind of wanted to, when you first mentioned China, I was like, yeah, but our government's only, monitoring us. And I was like, oh, wait, no, they're monitoring people all across the world, even harsher than they probably monitor most Americans. So, yeah, it's crazy that we are so, I mean, obviously I don't like China, what they're doing to the Uyghurs, communism. My aunt actually escaped communist China when she was a kid, and, people were dying. So obviously I don't like China, but at the same time, to criticize them for surveillance, I mean, that is what that's our bread and butter here in America, is government surveillance, which is extremely unfortunate.
Well, that's one of the things that I put in my book. I was actually talking about CBDCs, but in the first half, I kind of try to paint this picture of what the future might look like if we had, Agenda 2030 and we had one global CBDC. And then I started looking at, well, okay, what are some examples that exist in the world today that we might point to for references for where we might be going? And I started looking at China, and they have 660 million surveillance cameras, and it sounds horrible, except we have more surveillance cameras per capita in the United States than China.
No.
People talk about China having a social credit score, which is true. They do on a province by province basis. We have a social credit score.
We don't. Do we
yes,
really?
we do.
Yeah, we do. It's a corporate.
It's called the tax code.
Yeah, how are you going to buy a car?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
75,000 pages, 16 million words, and you can't possibly comply because you can't read all of it. And
That's the point.
The difference is we don't know what our score is. But if we're wrong, we go to prison. There are more people in prison in the United States than China. And I'm not saying this I'm not pro-China, but I'm saying I don't think we have a good self-awareness of our own situation with respect to surveillance of our financial transactions, as well as how the tax code is weaponized with incentives and penalties to basically control our behavior.
Yeah, we got a comment from Channel Julio saying, since this is a private video, are YouTube restrictions on speech less rigorous? Well, we're going to be uploading this video to YouTube. Same restrictions, as we still have to self-censor, as there's still an egregious amount of algorithm changes that we have no idea about. We were one of the first YouTube channels to be fully demonetized ever. No one even knew what was going on. We were part of the partner program, and they're like, oh yeah, no monetization here. I was like, why? What's going on here? No explanation at all. So many underhanded things happening with big tech, especially when it comes to their interference. And that's why it was so great seeing Donald Trump pen this kind of executive order that we had our friends help and work on, that specifically said, yeah, the federal government could no longer be involved dictating speech on social media. So that, again, huge, major, and absolutely game-changing. There's so much winning here, and I'm just absolutely happy that this is all happening.
So I can't say the C word?
No, you cannot say the C
Specifically
word.
the flu one?
No, you cannot say it. As of course, again, we got hit with a community guidelines strike for just playing the inauguration.
No.
Yeah. And they took away. So I was live. I was like, okay, I'm covering the inauguration. We're going to watch it live. We're going to comment on it. We're going to tell people exactly step by step everything that's going on. And as I'm doing the video, I was getting all the viewers. I was having a lot of fun. They're like, oh yeah, your video's off. And I'm like, why? Community guidelines strike for third-party content. So I was like, no one else got hit with this, but we got hit with this. Later, I made a big stink about this because my team was like, do you want to stream again? And I'm like, and risk my entire channel being shut down? No, I can't go live, which of course screwed me over for the day because then I couldn't, of course, go live throughout the duration of it. And it really just pissed me off. Then I did review the decision. They reviewed it, came back, and they're like, no. We sorry, you didn't get your way. We're going to continue with this decision. We're still going to have this strike on your channel. Then I made a big stink about it on Twitter saying, hey, they just hit me for talking about the inauguration of Donald Trump. And then finally they were like, okay, sorry, we did this. And they took away the strike. Yep. So, double confirmations.
Wow.
Human review was like, yep, he can't show the inauguration, which was absolutely infuriating because all my friends were doing it. All my friends were live, and they were able to do it. They were able to have that conversation. We weren't. And our audience members were just automatically cut off, and YouTube just cut off the whole live stream. They brought it back, but the damage has already been done. And is there any restitution? Nope, not at all. And there should be, especially with Mark Zuckerberg, especially with all these larger kind of initiatives that these secret government agencies worked with big tech social media when it came to destroying online media personalities, organizations, and also denying people the opportunity to work fairly and honestly in this larger kind of information war where they said no. You express an opinion we don't like, we're going to bury you. We're going to destroy you. We're going to make sure you can't survive. And it's one of the reasons why we don't have, a lot of the resources, and it's tough to fight these larger legal battles that we're currently involved in, which suck. And it's not fun. We got a chat here from Channel Julio who said C word equals crumb bum. Yes, that's exactly what it means.
I can't call you a crumb bum.
No, you can't call me a crumb bum. As of course, we're going to go to a caller. As of course, members of LukeUnfiltered.com not only get to watch this stream live, they also get the ability to call in and be a part of the show and to ask us any questions that they want. As of course, right now we have Chris Baker on the line here. Chris, we now see your ear. We now see your face. Chris, thank you so much for being a member. Thank you so much for calling in. You're live on air with everybody.
Hi, Luke. I'll be seeing you on this weekend at the Counterparty. That should be fun. It's certainly cool here in Florida this week, but
a little chilly. We're not used to this. I'm not happy about this either. But yeah, Counterparty happening this weekend as well, and we have free tickets for members with a free special code that we posted in the members chat that get free tickets. I think we only have like 5 left or less than that, just for members of LukeUnfiltered.com to get a free ticket to the Counterparty happening this weekend, which you should go to. I think you're going to be there too, right, Aaron? Yep. I'm going to be there. Mike Benz is going to be there. A lot of cool people are going to be there. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
well, I'm glad Ross has been pardoned. Leonard Peltier got commuted by Biden, actually, but at least Leonard Peltier can be at home, although he's still not totally free. And I hope we'll remember some of those other people out there who are still being prosecuted for various crypto crimes or alleged crypto crimes, like Roman Sterlingoff and Roger Ver and Ian Freeman, the Crypto Six in New Hampshire. There's hopefully this is a good start of a good trend though so far. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. No, 100%. No, that's why we dedicated this whole show about what's next here. This is already great. Thank you, Donald Trump, for doing this. This is incredible. Let's step it up a notch, though. Let's do more. Let's free more people. Let's equal out the wrongs now more than ever. Is there anything else that you specifically want to see from the future Trump administration, Chris? And do you have a question for our panel?
Well, not really a question for the panel, but I certainly I guess I would ask, how much of an influence do you think Milei is having on Trump? Trump called him my favorite president. It's which is certainly a good sign. It's Milei was at the inauguration. Heck, I wish I'd been in D.C. if I'd known he was going to be at that one event. But people say going to the inauguration can just be a mess, though. But yeah, it would have been cool.
I got offered too. They're like, "Hey, Milei's going to be here. You want to come travel?" And I'm like, "I just can't afford it." I was like, "Son of a gun!" So I was kind of let down about that too. But no, Milei is having a huge impact on this. He just tweeted, "Make America Great Again," but the A's are double, and one's in an American flag, one's in an Argentinian flag. Argentina, it's a pretty prominent country in Latin America. And I think the larger kind of trade initiatives, the larger programs, the larger kind of example that he set, firing all these bureaucrats, getting rid of government in people's lives. I mean, for the first time in a long time, the Argentinian economy is actually making a bounce back. It's actually correcting itself after so many failed communistic policies that have wreaked havoc on it and created record inflation. Javier Milei is the trendsetter. He's the guy that truly represented a lot of these ideas, but also implemented it. And the way he's doing it, not fast like Donald Trump is. He's doing it slowly and surely, but there's a lot to learn from this. And there's a lot to learn also from El Salvador, but I think Argentina truly is doing it the most kind of bombastic, most kind of entertaining, most kind of incredible way. So shouts out to Javier Milei and the impact that he's making, influencing policies by showing people that it actually works. You get rid of government, you get rid of taxes, you get rid of regulations, guess what? Your economy and your people prosper. That's amazing. You guys have any comments on Milei?
Well, I think he's been providing advice to Vivek when he was part of Doge and Elon as well.
Yeah.
So he was giving input and guidance. So I think he will have a very big impact.
Yeah, absolutely. Same with Ron Paul, that was also advising Elon and Vivek. Vivek's no longer a part of it, according to some sources. That situation is a little awkward, but we'll see how it kind of plays out. We'll see the larger impacts Doge, if it's even able to be implemented as a government agency, since, of course, there's now a lot of legal challenges against it, what they would be doing, as, of course, they're promising to get rid of trillions of dollars of wasteful spending. And that, again, would be huge. That would be absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's a pretty monumental task, I think, Milei is probably he's just become a phenomenon all over the Spanish-speaking world. I mean, it's a shame he doesn't speak English, but because
he speaks it very poorly.
Yeah, I don't think he doesn't speak it well enough to get invited to get really big bucks as a speaker, is what I was going to say, but this guy just, I'm always amazed at, every time he mentions somebody new. I mean, I would love to look at his library.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's got to be massive, it's,
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it. And, having been the lead singer of a Rolling Stone cover band, this guy knows how to read the room and get a crowd excited.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Chris, thank you so much for calling. Any other comments about Javier Milei and the larger kind of influences on Donald Trump?
The Fountainhead Forum has done 60 plus shows about Milei. I'm going to see if I can get a debate worked out to respond to some of those comments that Safedine made, which I think I like Safedine, but he said no, he's not doing it right. But I'm afraid sometimes Safedine's motivations are the fact that he's Lebanese, but Safedine almost is a great guy too. It's a shame when great people are fighting, but sometimes it happens. So okay.
Awesome. Chris, thank you so much for calling in. Thank you so much for being a member of LukeUnfiltered.com. We never screen our members. We never tell them what they can say or cannot say or whatever statements they can make. And I love that. And that's the part of the kind of wild fun that we like to have here with the free open discussion that is still limited and kind of censored because we're still on YouTube and can't get into some of the larger weeds. But then we do that exclusively for members of LukeUnfiltered.com, as we are going to be asking our guest here his most controversial opinion, which should be interesting in the post-show here. But truly, very exciting times. These executive orders, these firings of all these DEI people, absolutely incredible to see. We're also hearing scuttlebutt from the Wall Street Journal that there might be an executive order that's going to be banning gain-of-function research, as I think a lot of people have correlated Biden's pardons related to some of that, as of course the pardons go all the way back till 2014, exactly when the West has started to have more of a sphere of influence in Ukraine, and when allegedly those U.S. biolab facilities were created and, of course, started. I think that's why those pardons go all the way back till that specific date. And again, will we ever know? I hope so. I hope there's more investigations. I hope there's more insight. I'm very optimistic. Last kind of comments here from you guys. Where do you guys see this going? What's your ultimate kind of wish here to be fulfilled? Who wants to take it?
We're all looking at each other.
Fulfilled in
The Trump administration.
The Trump administration. I would like to see I would like to see constitutional amendments. I would like to see legal change. I would like the legal entities that be to be for the people and not used as a government weapon anymore. I would like to see genuine legal reform. That's what I'm hoping for.
I just want to see all of them fired. I want
I
to see
know.
government institutions shut down, fired, and then criminally investigated.
I'm like, I just want to move forward in peace and make it better. And you're just like,
Fire
burn it
them.
all, burn it all to the ground.
Fire all of them, and
wanna
have
see
them
the-
work in the free market.
I want
Yeah.
to see the IRS abolished. And, you hear a lot of people say, well, if you get rid of the IRS, what are you going to do about taxes? Who's going to pay for this
None.
and that? And people don't realize that before we had these taxes, it was all done with tariffs. Am I correct? And what is your knowledge of that foundation?
Yeah, it was previously done with tariffs, and arguably we don't even need taxes because they just print the money out of thin air anyway, and we're just operating with multi-trillion-dollar.
So nothing would really
That's-
change.
So nothing would really. No, the tax policy is just a control mechanism.
Yeah.
It really isn't even fulfilling a. It's not like roads. By the way, we drove to 24 states over the past year and a half, based on all the tolls that we've been paying. I mean,
my
what is even this
God.
idea, this argument that people made if we didn't have taxes, who would pay for the roads? Well,
Yeah.
apparently.
Or
taxes-
fire departments and hospitals, they don't realize where this stuff really comes from. It's like your income tax. Try and figure out where that actually went.
Yeah, and then your property tax, and then your sales tax. We have too many damn taxes.
Yeah, we
end
could-
it all.
we
And
could-
taxes are just a form of oppression. A lot of people need to realize that it's not about funding the. It's about oppressing and controlling people. That's exactly what it is. It's nothing else.
I wonder what percent when when they mint a dollar and it goes through a circulation and eventually it ends. How many times has that dollar been taxed? Like, what is it? How much of
yeah.
it goes to the federal government by the end of its lifespan?
It's unbelievable. If you actually knew, you'd be furious.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's just like a few cents left by the end of its
Yeah,
lifespan.
I get paid. I have to pay taxes on that. I pay Steph. Steph has to pay. I have to pay taxes just because I paid Steph, and then Steph has to pay taxes on the money she got. That's the level of kind of incredulous taxes that,
then you
that
buy
people
a
are dealing
house,
with.
you have to pay taxes. You sell a house, you have to pay taxes. I mean, it's just they.
It's boiling the frog. They just do it slowly, and you don't realize that you're getting cooked.
Yeah.
Right.
But I would say I'd like to see, the government reduced to the maximum possible way under Trump. But there are two areas that I would be ecstatic about. One is, and they're related, abolishing the IRS and abolishing the Federal Reserve. If you do those two things, that literally would change everything.
Absolutely. Steph, what's on your wish list? What do you want the Trump
Yeah,
administration to do?
That sounds great, you guys. It's just making me think of the past and like where America came from and like how the future generations kind of got hoodwinked.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like you look at kids today, and they have no idea that you could book a flight on an airplane. Like when I was younger, I could book a flight and just tell them I was Grace Jones or Elvis Presley. Book my flight that way, pay cash for it, never show identification, and go to New York.
Well, I mean,
And they
I'm just
haven't-
saying, like, how many presidents passed until we got into this cycle, right? Like, which president was it that the grass was greener? Like, does
I
anyone
think
even know?
Kennedy was the last president we had.
Like, I think it's even maybe before that. I
Well,
think
Wilson destroyed a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pick one,
Aaron, this was great. Thank you so much for coming into our studio. Thank you so much. I know I told people, I'm like, I don't want to do the podcast anymore. And Tatiana was like, I just booked all these people. I'm like, okay, I'll do the ones that Tatiana booked. And I'm very happy we did this show. I'm very happy you were able to provide a lot of important details about what's happening to Ian, what's happening to Roger, what's happening to all these other people that are dealing with so much government in their lives. As I think this is going to be definitely an important video to share out there to the general public, to get this message out there, to start this conversation that hopefully leads to action. Because if there ever was a chance and opportunity for this to happen, it is now, and it is incredible. So thank you so much for informing us, enlightening us about these situations. Where can people find out more information about you? Where can they support your work?
You can find me at daylightfreedom.org, and that is the website. It's actually a nonprofit that my wife and I started, and this is where I have information about my book and speaking appearances. I also do We do 4-hour workshops where, the first half of it is describing CBDCs, and then the last half we actually teach people how to use cryptocurrency in their day-to-day lives as an alternative to fiat currency. And so information about all the events and all of that is also on that site.
Awesome. And you're going to be at the counterparty, so that's going to be great to do as well. What was the title of your book again?
The Final Countdown.
Awesome. Aaron, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to do a members-only show with you, asking you your most controversial opinion in just a few minutes from now. Before that, Liza, where can people find out more information about you?
You can find me on X, Liza Trainer X. I'm a meme smith, and I'm definitely shadow banned.
Nice.
Your stuff does go viral sometimes.
It does, because I share it on other people's pages or whatever, and next thing I know, it's on Elon Musk.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
But it's not under my name, and it's not on my channel, but it's my meme.
Oh, that's cool.
You can always tell my memes because I put a little red line around them.
You got to put a lower third in there to like your website or to your Twitter handle.
I don't really care about that. I just care
Yeah,
about
but you should.
I care about the
operates in the
message.
dark.
Yes.
I don't care. I
kinda
care
like
about the
the-
message.
It's like the Christian Louboutin, like the red, this insignia. You don't even need the.
I just do it so I remember it's mine, to tell you the truth, because I see them go viral, and I'm like, was that mine? Because I make so many of them.
That's funny. That's
Lauren,
great.
where can people find you?
You don't need to find me. Just, just do you. My name's Lauren. Nice to see you.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for being a part of the show, Steph.
This is Steph. We are change, pushing the buttons.
All right, members video up. Should be up right now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for commenting and calling in during the live show. It's awesome to see you guys. Sign up as a member, and we will see you on the next one, which is going to be this Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern. And then I think the last show that we're going to do for a while is going to be Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern as well. So stay tuned for that and a lot more as a member. It's all going to be in your members area. As soon as you log in, you'll see the live stream, and we appreciate your conversations that you have with us. Love you guys. Stay tuned for more.